What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So, did the strikes on Iran and Iran's nuclear facilities really work? Well, some new information is coming out that has some people questioning what the U.S. is saying, that they completely obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. I'm going to give you that information here in this video. I'm also going to give you both sides of the coin here, as I'm going to let you hear from a U.S. general that gives the information from the U.S., and I'll let you hear directly from the U.S. general of what happened in the strike. And I'll let you hear directly from the U.S. general here, which is actually some pretty cool information here. So I'll let you hear both sides of the coin, and I'll let you make your assessment on what you think happened here with the U.S.'s strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, and you can determine how much you think of Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran's nuclear, they're literally working towards a nuclear bomb, how much has been destroyed. So let's jump in. I'm going to give you all the information here right now as we are live right here on the YouTube It's Jimmy show. Let me know if you can see and hear me. Type yes in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. You can let me know your city, state, or even your country, as we have people tuning in here from all around the globe. Don't forget to hit that like button for me here and help me reach 500,000 subscribers. You can subscribe. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on future videos here, and click the bell icon so you get notifications. Over 225 million people have watched our YouTube show. If you're tuning in from another platform, make sure, like TikTok, Instagram, or any of those others, make sure you're watching me on It's Jimmy Show, as I have other people copying my my shows. Okay, take a look here. Okay, you can see here there's several reports coming out here saying that the U.S. strikes did not completely destroy Iran's nuclear program, says intelligence assessments. So I'll give you the details here of this, and then I'll let you hear from a U.S. general here outlining what the U.S. is saying here. So take a look at this. The U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities did not destroy the country's nuclear program and probably only set it back by a few months. According to an early Pentagon intelligence assessment of the attack, the Islamic Republic's stockpile of enriched uranium was not eliminated, and sources familiar with the Defense's Intelligence Agency evaluation told the BBC's partner CBS. The White House said that that was flat out wrong, and that this was leaked by a, quote, low-level loser in the intelligence community. Yeah, you can almost kind of hear Trump saying this. Quote, you could let me know your thoughts here in the comment section. President Donald Trump again declared the nuclear sites in Iran were completely destroyed and accused the media of an attempt to demean one of the most successful strikes in U.S. military history. The U.S. has 18 intelligence agencies which sometimes produce conflicting reports based on their mission and area of expertise. For example, the American intelligence community is still not in agreement over the origins of the pandemic. It is possible future intelligence reports will include information showing different levels of damage to the facilities. According to CBS, officials familiar with the report warned it was an early assessment that could change as more information becomes available about the sites. It's also not clear what confidence level the findings include in the report that were made. You'll hear more details here from the general here in a moment, but sources familiar with the Pentagon's intelligence assessment say that Iran's centrifuges were largely intact and the impact was limited to above-ground structures only. Entrances to the two nuclear facilities were sealed off, and some infrastructure was destroyed or damaged, but much of the facilities were deep underground, escaped the brunt of the blast, the assessment reportedly found. Anonymous sources told U.S. media its estimate that the attack only set Iran back a few months tops, and that any resumption of its nuclear program may be based on how long it takes the country to dig out and to make repairs. Sources also confirmed to CBS that some of Iran's enriched uranium stockpile was moved before the strikes, According to intelligence assessments, this is because the first strikes were, I think it was 10 to 12 days beforehand, and they may have had ample time to move or move at least some of the stuff in between. And you guys can let me know your thoughts here. Do you think Iran moved some of the stuff or all of the stuff in between there in anticipation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And of course, Iran has always said its nuclear program was for peaceful purposes. What are your thoughts on that? Satellite images do show that all three sites sustained extremely, quote, severe damage and destruction. They show 6 fresh craters clustered around 2 entry points at the Fordo nuclear sites, as well as gray dust and debris. It is unclear from the images, however, how much damage the sites sustained below the surface and how far down they would have gone. The deputy political director of Iran's state broadcaster claimed the 3 sites targeted by the U.S. had been evacuated a while ago, and that Iran didn't suffer a major blowback because the materials had, quote, already been taken out. And if that's the case, well, that's a serious problem. Take a listen to U.S. General Dan Raising Cane here on the mission, how it went down, and what happened according to the U.S. Take a listen here.
There's an organization in the U.S. called the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, DTRA. DTRA does a lot of things for our nation, but DTRA is the world's leading expert on deeply buried underground targets. In 2009, a Defense Threat Reduction Agency officer was brought into a vault at an undisclosed location and briefed on something going on in Iran. For security purposes, I'm not going to share his name. He was shown some photos and some highly classified intelligence of what looked like a major construction project in the mountains of Iran. He was tasked to study this facility, work with the intelligence community to understand it, and he was soon joined by an additional teammate. For more than 15 years, this officer and his teammate lived and breathed this single target, Fordo, a critical element of Iran's covert nuclear weapons program. He studied the geology. He watched the Iranians dig it out. He watched the construction, the weather, the discard material, the geology, the construction materials, where the materials came from. He looked at the vent shaft, the exhaust shaft, the electrical systems, the environmental control systems, every nook, every crater, every piece of equipment going in and every piece of equipment going out. They literally dreamed about this target at night when they slept. They thought about it driving back and forth to work, and they knew from the very first days what this was for. You do not build a multi-layered underground bunker complex with centrifuges and other equipment in a mountain for any peaceful purpose. They weren't able to discuss this with their family, their wives, their kids, their friends, but they just kept grinding it out. And along the way, they realized we did not have a weapon that could adequately strike and kill this target. So they began a journey to work with industry and other tacticians to develop the GBU-57. They tested it over and over again, tried different options, tried more after that. They accomplished hundreds of test shots and dropped many full-scale weapons against extremely realistic targets for a single purpose: kill this target at the time and place of our nation's choosing. And then, on a day in June of 2025, more than 15 years after they started their life's work, the phone rang and the President of the United States ordered the B-2 force that you've supported to go strike and kill this target. Yesterday, I had the incredible honor and privilege of spending time with these 2 Defense Threat Reduction Agency officers who've given so much. One of them said, quote, "I can't even get my head around this. My heart is so filled with the pride of being a part of this team. I am so honored to be a part of this." To you both, thank you, and thank you to your families. Operation Midnight Hammer was the culmination of those 15 years of incredible work. The air crews, the tanker crews, the weapons crews that built the weapons, the load crews that loaded it. Before I run through this video today, I want to talk a little bit about weaponeering and what goes into an attack. Weaponeering is the science of evaluating a target. I mentioned all of those factors before that these two DTRA officers had thought about. Ultimately, weaponeering is determining the right weapon and fuse combination to achieve the desired effects and maximum destruction against a target. In the case of Fordo, the DTRA team understood with a high degree of confidence the elements of the target required to kill its functions, and the weapons were designed, planned, and delivered to ensure that they achieve the effects in the mission space. By the way, in the beginning of its development, we had so many PhDs working on the MOP program, doing modeling and simulation, that we were quietly and in a secret way the biggest users of supercomputer hours within the United States of America. So let me talk about the graphic a little bit. And the GBU-57, which all of you I know is a 30,000 pound weapon dropped only by the B-2. It's comprised of steel, explosive, and a fuse, programmed bespokely each weapon to achieve a particular effect inside the target. Each weapon had a unique desired impact angle, arrival, final heading, and a fuse setting. The fuse is effectively what tells the bomb when to function. A longer delay in a fuse, the deeper the weapon will penetrate and drive into the target. So on Fordo, in June of 2008, you can see these three holes. Depicted here is the main exhaust shaft with two additional ventilation shafts on either side. The United States decided to strike these two ventilation shafts, as seen here on the main graphic, as the primary point of entry into the mission space. In the days preceding the attack against Fordo, the Iranians attempted to cover the shafts with concrete to try to prevent an attack. I won't share the specific dimensions of the concrete cap, but you should know that we know what the dimensions of those concrete caps were. The planners had to account for this. They accounted for everything. The cap was forcibly removed by the first weapon, and the main shaft was uncovered. Weapons 2, 3, 4, 5 were tasked to enter the main shaft, move down into the complex at greater than 1,000 feet per second, and explode in the mission space. Weapon number 6 was designed on each side, so there were 6 on each side. Weapons number 6 was designed as a flex weapon to allow us to cover if one of the preceding jets or one of the preceding weapons did not work. The video I'm about to show you is a culmination of over 15 years of development and testing. As I said, hundreds of test shots on various models. This is one weapon. So if you take a view of this as 5 additionals, you'll get a sense of what this looks like. Hopefully you can see it and there's not too much reflection. Tom runs our videos out there. We'll run it at full speed so you can see it and then go back through it. Go ahead, Tom. Keep it going for a minute. You'll see inside the mission space. Unlike a normal surface bomb, you won't see an impact crater because they're designed to deeply bury and then function. I know there's been a lot of questions about that. All 6 weapons at each vent at Fordo went exactly where they were intended to go. A bomb has three effects that causes damage: blast, fragmentation, and overpressure. In this case, the primary kill mechanism in the mission space was a mix of overpressure and blast, ripping through the open tunnels and destroying critical hardware. The majority of the damage we assessed based on our extensive modeling was a blast layer combined with the impulse extending from the shock. Imagine what this looks like 6 times over. A point that I want to make here: the Joint Force does not do BDA. By design, we don't grade our own homework. The intelligence community does. But here's what we know following the attacks and the strikes on Fordo. First, that the weapons were built, tested, and loaded properly. 2, the weapons were released on speed and on parameters. 3, the weapons all guided to their intended targets and to their intended aim points. 4, the weapons functioned as designed, meaning they exploded. We know this through other means, intelligence means that we have, that were visibly, we were visibly able to see them. And we know that the trailing jets saw the first weapons function, and the pilots stated, quote, "This was the brightest explosion that I've ever seen. It literally looked like daylight." Let me now turn to the bomber crews themselves, give you a few details about them. The crews that attacked Fordo were from the active duty Air Force and the Missouri Air National Guard. The crews ranked from captain to colonel, and most were graduates of the Air Force Weapons School headquartered at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. I will state for the record that there is no beach volleyball or football at the Air Force Weapons School. There were male and female aviators on this mission, and a crew member told me when I talked to them on video the other day that this felt like the Super Bowl, the thousands of scientists, airmen, and maintainers all coming together. One last story about people. When the crews went to work on Friday, they kissed their loved ones goodbye, not knowing when or if they'd be home. Late on Saturday night, their families became aware of what was happening. And on Sunday, when those jets returned from Whiteman, their families were there. Flags flying and tears flowing. I have chills literally talking about this. The jets rejoined into a formation of 4 airplanes, followed by a formation of 3, and came up overhead Whiteman, proudly in the traffic pattern, pitching out to land right over the base, and landing to the incredible cheers of their families who sacrifice and serve right alongside their family members. Like I said, there were a lot of flags and a lot of tears. One commander told me this is a moment in the lives of our families that they will never forget. That, my friends, is what America's Joint Force does. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we test, we evaluate every single day. And when the call comes to deliver, we do so. I could not be more proud standing up here today of our Joint Force. I'm filled with gratitude that I get to tell their story. And as we stand here right now, our forces remain on a high state of readiness in the region, prepared to defend themselves. And one last thing, our adversaries around the world should know that there are other DTRA team members out there studying targets for the same amount of time, and will continue to do so. Thank you very much. I apologize for the length. I look forward to your questions.
Yeah, so a pretty detailed report there from the U.S. General. So the question here is, do you believe what he's saying, or do you believe the intelligence report, or do we just not have enough information yet, or will we never know, or not know for a while here, or did Iran actually move the nuclear materials, or will we have to wait and see? Let me know your thoughts here in the comment section, and I will keep you up to date. Make sure to share this video with anybody that needs to hear this information, or share it on social media so more people can see this information. Make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on updates coming up here. It's completely free to do so. Click the notification bell so you get updates when they come out here. Click here to see the White House warning of Iranian sleeper cells Or click here to see the Fed with a message here from millions of Americans. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.